sunny day. It's sunny day.
Hello friends, welcome back to the DDS. Thanks for coming along if this is your first time as well. This is the Dead Dad Society. It's billed as a therapy group in the form of a podcast. This is episode 13 with a dear friend of mine. I'll get into that in a second. But thank you very much for all the love on episode 12 with Imogen Clark. She is one of the greats. She's so good. That was a brilliant episode. Had a lot of fun talking to her. And seems like people really responded to that. So that's awesome. If you do like the stuff, just a reminder that I've made an Instagram for Dead Dad Society. So go and chuck us a follow, like our content, subscribe, do all that jazz, please. I say all that jazz a lot. That's really weird. But yeah, please do all that jazz. Just get amongst it. Our guest today is a dear friend of mine. He is the CEO of Listen Up Music, which is a charity that I am an ambassador for. Basically, what Listen Up does is they run events, competitions, they put on a lot of stuff in the mental health sector, combining music with positive change for mental health and growing a community. So Ali is a friend of mine. We've been friends. I don't know. I don't need to tell you how long I've been friends with him. This isn't the O.J. Simpson trial. I'm not on trial here, guys. I've watched the O.J. Simpson documentary in the last couple of weeks, and I feel like it's all I can think about at the moment. So I'm sorry that I brought it up, but look, it's good documentary. You should watch. I didn't come here to talk about that either, guys. I need to move on. But yeah, Ali is a good friend of mine. I've said that 11 times now. He is a lifelong Sheffield United fan. He is a member of the Dead Dad Society, unfortunately. So we do talk about that. We talk about some crazy stories that have happened to him over his life. And also he helps me find a new dad. So that's pretty cool. Guys, if you like it, please let us know. But this is episode 13 with Ali Taylor. Taylor. So good to see you, even if we are Zooming. It's good to see your pretty face.
Zooming is better than Newman? No, I don't know what
Newman.
that is.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on the riff so early. I appreciate you riffing off the boat. Now you are we've got a long history. We have a long history. We have a lot to digest, a lot to get through. But
we do.
I'll probably, at the intro of this episode, I'll probably talk it up a little bit more. But you're a good friend. You're a dear friend. You are a member of the DDS. Unfortunately, again, we can get into that. But you are the founder. You are the founder of Listen Up Music, so mental health and music charity, running events and competitions and mates. I was talking to Imogen last time. Imogen Clark, wonderful ambassador of Listen Up Music, who came on the podcast last episode, and there was we could not talk higher, I can't even talk. We could not talk higher of yourself and Listen Up Music and the things that you guys do, and Liv and Hank and everyone involved. We could not talk any higher of the things that you guys do.
I heard it was an ace episode.
Hey, thank you. Please give me your quick reviews of all the other episodes while you're at it, if you could.
All of them in order?
Yes. Don't worry about that. That was a joke. Don't do that. But mate, listen up. So you just had the semi-final for Adelaide, the semi-final for the songwriting prize.
All of the semi-finals. Yeah, we had to obviously change them around a bit from usual. Normally we have them all in person and myself and some of the crew come with me. But the first one was Brisbane, where we had to rely on Brisbane ambassadors and people to run those, which they did a great job. It was a sellout. Mm-hmm. Then after that, we went and had Adelaide, which was, we had Sydney next, which was also a sellout. In a new venue because there were problems with complications because of COVID for that. And then
absolutely Adelaide
for a first time ever, that was almost a sellout in our first year there, and I got to fly down, and we did that with a reduced capacity. And then, in the last couple of weeks, we've had the semi-final for Melbourne, which was the only one that was online entirely, but it was just so nice to be able to do something for Victorians. And obviously we've just had the good news that Victoria's opening up again. So it just felt like a really nice thing to do.
That's awesome, mate. It's how was Sydney? How was the MC? Was he all right? Did he?
Yeah.
Was he okay?
I don't know how many times he's MC'd before, but he was
Thank you.
True professional. He said all the right things. Said some other things, and he was great.
He said all the right things. He said some stuff. Look, in all honesty, as an organisation, we weren't happy with the things that he said. I don't know why he was talking like that. It was actually quite disgusting, in all honesty.
But you know what? He must have said some good things, because here we are still talking today. So we're on talking terms. So that's good.
Whoa, what a reveal. I can't believe that you were talking to the MC the whole time. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, no.
That's correct. No, so literally, like I have MC'd a stack of stuff for you guys for Listen Up Music. Pretty much every semi-final, grand final, New South Wales based since I became an ambassador, which again, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be an ambassador.
Thank you.
I didn't do the 2019 grand final, but that is part of the Mitch and Ali saga that Mitch was being a real prima donna at that time. We can get into that later. But
I think we'll put it down to miscommunication. Maybe not prima donna. That's a bit harsh.
No, I think I was. Look, it was a miscommunication. Yeah, look, let's get into it. It was no doubt it was a miscommunication. Like, you thought one thing, I thought another thing. Essentially, guys, I thought that Ali wanted to go in a different direction for MCing, so I just stepped away and was like, okay, cool. And then when Ali got a replacement, I messaged him and was like, I can't believe that's who you replaced me with. And was like, what am I doing? Like, anyway, I was just in a really bad place at that time. And I just messaged you being like, I was like, I think I'm going to fight Ali today. All right, let's just see what happens. No, but not even. But I was just like, I can't believe Ali replaced me. But in all honesty, as you thought that I'd bailed on you.
Yeah. And I was sitting there when you messaged going, why are you talking about your replacement? Like, we had 2 weeks to find a replacement because you didn't want to do it anymore. And it was just such a weird thing, because it was over message. And when you read it back from your perspective or from mine, they both make sense. But we both wanted each other to do it. And
that's it. It's really funny. I would love to read back those messages, but the day after that we read those messages, we did that, I deleted our entire message history because I was like, you're being a real prick there, Garling. You're being a real prick. And I deleted it just so I never had to read it again. But let's move on. Listen Up Music. So Listen Up Music.
So it's good.
Yeah, wait, we're fine. Do we have a message? I don't even know if we've messaged each other since on actual phones. Because, I don't know, people just Facebook. Anyway, so Listen Up Music. So you guys run events, you're running, you're running events, you're running competitions, you're helping to build community, I think is the term that you guys use. Build a community through mental health and music. Why is that what you're doing? Like, obviously, I know that's such a loose question. But it's, obviously, I've had struggles with mental health stuff in the past. Every second person probably has, but no one is taking the jump or making the leap to actually, not no one, but the majority of people are not making the leap to do great stuff, to raise awareness, to bring people together. Why essentially? Why did you do that?
No, it's a great question. And I think I think the point that you make about why people do or don't make the leap or raise awareness or make it a part of their life, I think it all really stems down to that term of lived experience. Like I think everybody knows somebody who is living with some form of mental health issue or has experienced it themselves. But for me, it was never on my radar. All through my adult life up until I met my wife, Liv. And even after I met her, it was not on the radar. And really, it was the coming together of two things. One was the lived experience. So my family have a lived experience of suicide. Mm-hmm. That was obviously profound in the early stages of me getting to know my new family, and I saw all the experiences and the impact that it had on the family. And then it was the coming together of that and a friend saying, these events that you do when you get people together, have you ever thought of aligning it with a charity? And I honestly believe if that seed hadn't been planted, then I don't know whether I would be doing what I do now. But it was that planting of a seed of what you're doing with these people, bringing these people together for these little small community events, actually has almost a higher purpose. It's like you can do so much more. So I just thought, yeah, we'll do one, and we'll just see if we can raise some money. And I think we raised like nearly $4,000 between just this tiny small community of friends and family. And I thought, wow, this really is making a difference. And it snowballed. That cliche term of snowballing, but it went from something tiny to something a bit bigger to something a bit bigger, and brought on more people and everything as we went along. And now we're in this position where both of my jobs are in the mental health space, which rewind even 6 or 7 years ago would never have been something that I thought would be what I'd be doing.
That's crazy. So how many events are you sitting at now in total?
Oh man. Well, we do a minimum of 6 of our own, and then we do other kind of presenting events with other people. But I reckon we're probably close to 50 in the time I've been in Australia in 8 years. So yeah,
and that's across all our states and UK as well. And did I read that there was a US one this year, or did I make that up myself?
Not this year, but in the past we've done like a one on World Suicide Prevention Day. We got people in different countries to do events on the same day as ours. So we had them. Yeah, we had one happening in the US, one happening in the UK. We had one in Brazil. We had in Vanuatu. We had them in all these places where people were doing them. But and across all states of Australia nearly. So we hope to go to NT next year, and we hope to go to Tasmania as well. But apart from that, pretty much all the other major states in the country.
Yeah, wow. So if you want to talk about the idea of using Listen Up, or using whatever iterations it's been over the years in terms of building a community, I think you're absolutely nailing that on the head. Like the fact that you're bringing people from UK, US, Brazil, Vanuatu, you're all getting together and having playing some music or having a chat or doing whatever. It seems to be common ground. I think that people really don't understand just how common ground it is.
No, and also not how they don't get how simple it is that in its simplest form. I think one thing that people can really relate to at the moment is that lack of connection that we've had for 8 or 9 months. Yeah. And I think, that's essentially what community is. It's connection on a bigger scale. So you get 3 or more people together in a room, that's essentially a community, that's what our foundation is. And that's what our belief is that people are better if they're part of a community. And we've seen that across the years.
Yeah. Even the Sydney semi-final that we just did, I forget where it was called, where it was at, but even the one that we just did, like, yes, you've got your COVID restrictions, but the people that you have there are the core believers. They're the core supporters. They're the people that believe in the message or are supporting people playing in the show that are believing in the message. So I think when you look at that aspect of a community, you're like, COVID, COVID's been really fucking annoying, but in that sort of sense, you've really gotten to the people that you really want there. If that makes sense, you've got that I'm not going to say like, if you didn't come to the Sydney semi-final, don't come ever again. Like, that's not what I'm saying. You're not part of the core group. No, definitely not. So
no, but it is. It's you make a good point there that I can't stress enough, to not just to people who enter our events as entrants or semi-finalists or whatever, but the people that come along to the events as well. It's not that you come to one event and then you don't ever come again. You come back a second time and you're like, oh, there's people here that I met before, I've made connections with. And, you saw yourself, like at the Sydney semi, you connected with Imogen again, you hadn't seen probably since last year, got chatting there. And then, she's been on the show and, you guys just picked up from where you left off the last time.
That's it. Absolutely. And, there's a bit of a running gag at most listen up things that I go to is Dave Gugliotta's wife who heckled me drunkenly at a Christmas party one year. Every time I see her, it's just like, hey, like, hello, look at you, like, and like that's cute. Like, I love that sort of that. It's the people that you want coming back. Like, that's the fun, the people. And meeting people like Imogen and even just all the people I've met over the years of working with you, like Socks and people like that. It's man, you talk about a community, like, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, mate, I couldn't agree more. And if I knew what the formula was for having built it, people always say that. They're like, how did you build the community? And it was like, well, maybe I was the catalyst for it at the beginning, but it's all the people that have been involved across all the years that have built it. You just put people together under the right circumstances, and music being one of the things that unites people the most. And there you go. People will continue to come back and enjoy it.
It helps that it's a hell of an outlet, and that I feel like music, no matter how serious the content or how serious the tone, is that when you've got the support of a band or depending on what you play, like if you've got a band or accompaniment or a backing track, it's always positive. It's always a performance thing. It's always very good. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, for instance, if you ran like a stand-up comedy competition that was all about mental health and, people dealing with all that sort of stuff, it'd be like, this is really sad. I don't know. This is really, really sad. But you're talking there before about your, the new family. And I think that also comes back to why Listen Up has been so successful, is because of the support core group that you have. In terms of your wife, your family, like the boys, your daughter, Imi. I think that I guess when you have that stability behind you, if you have that stability behind you, you don't worry about falling back over, if that makes sense. So you're always looking forward, you're always growing, you're always trying to be stronger. So when you've got that behind you, man, it's no wonder that Listen Up is kicking goals.
Yeah, and you know what? They are equally as important to me when we're doing well as to when we or I particularly am not doing well as well. The beauty of having Liv and Justin, Jack, Ollie, Owen, and Imi, with all of them, and Gemma with our extended family, is there's so many different personalities, and they all have different angles of looking at things. So if things are going well, they're the biggest support, and they all come out in numbers to support.
It's a focus group. It's a focus group almost. You've got your own little focus group. That's
absolutely, and they keep me on my toes, like they keep me real. So if I'm aiming too high, or I'm being too arrogant, or I'm not spending enough time with them, or I'm not saying the right thing, they are the first people to call me up on it. And And so, yeah, so when the bad times are around, they're equally as supportive as when they come to one of our grand finals and see how great it was. They're just like, no, you know, you've got to remember those highs when you have the lows, because look at the people that you're affecting, and look at the, you know, the great work that the charity is doing. And so, yeah, they are absolutely my support group, my backing, they're everything.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're obviously people who are listening are going to tell that you have an accent. Like it's not
I have a weird
you're not
accent
going to
for
be like,
where I'm
oh,
actually from,
what?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought he must have bit his tongue when he was eating dinner before the recording. I didn't realize that was an accent. But so what I like to do is when I talk to, like when I sort of tee these up with my friends and people I know, I like to message them and just say like, what are the top five what the fuck moments? So whether it's sad, bad, you know, whatever it is, just what the fuck moments. You sent me through a few good ones. We'll go through them. But obviously the accent would allude to the fact that you have possibly come here from another country. Would you say that's correct?
That is correct, and I'm glad that you framed it that way, because most people say something else because my accent sounds like I'm English, for which I'm not.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, I am Scottish and proud, and I like to say the only thing that's not Scottish about me is my accent. But yeah, so many people, if they are expats or English, come up and they're like, "Oh, fellow Pom," and they're like, "No,
No.
no."
How does that happen? Does a Scotsman, does he go to England at a young age, or does he just live close to the
100%.
border, or what is it?
No, absolutely, 100%. At 9, went to boarding school in Cambridge, which one of the poshest places in the country, and was the only Scot there. And at 9 years old was, I just basically had the accent drilled out of me through classes, and obviously I was in the choir there, so singing and everything else, and I wanted to blend in. And yeah, so after a year of being there, the first signs were of it departing, and ever since I've lived in lots of different places, and I still have this very neutral English accent.
You've been here for 8 years. Like, why have you not picked up more? Why have you not picked up more from us?
I don't know, because what is funny is we have two of our really good friends who are from Glasgow, and when they come over, I just slip straight into the Scottish accent again.
Yeah, wow.
So I can go backwards to before 9, but anything after 9 seems to, I don't know, it just doesn't work. I kind of hear myself, and I think I sound ridiculous. So yeah.
Do you think Amy has more of an Australian accent, or is she a bit of a Australian accent with, you know, picking up certain words from you and Liv, obviously both having an English accent? Almost said both English. Both having an English accent.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, depending on who you ask, because you ask any Aussie and they all say that none of them have an Australian accent, any of the kids. Yeah. And then you ask any of our friends from the UK and they all go, "Oh my God, I can't believe how Australian you sound." So we've got to be somewhere halfway in between. And Amy being the youngest, being 2 when she came over here, she theoretically would have the strongest accent. But again, our friends say when you listen to any of the 5 of them, they all pick out a different one who has the strongest accent. So I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, you say that you guys came out when Amy was 2. So that puts you as being out here for 8 years, as we've said. In your what the fuck answers, you mentioned that there was a bit of a strange occurrence that happened in terms of when you guys left and when you guys arrived. Would you mind telling me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when we obviously, Liv and I talked and made decisions about emigrating and coming out here, which wasn't a decision that we took easily, because apart from Liv having a holiday when she was a kid, none of them had been out and spent any real time in Australia. I'd been here for 2.5 years before I flew back to the UK and met Liv and the family. So there was a lot of pressure on me bringing everyone out here based on stories I'd told and things I'd said about the country. But we realized that when we were looking to emigrate, because of where the kids are and the ages between them, we had to leave at a certain time, or our eldest Justin would have been into the equivalent of HSCs, and we didn't want to move while he was in the middle of that. But then the gap between him and Jack is, you know, 1.5 years. So we were like, if we wait for Justin to finish HSCs, Jack will be into his, then Ollie, then Owen, and then I would be too old to come over. So we were like, right, we've got 16 weeks. We have to pack everything up, sell the house, do everything, and leave. So we essentially did that. And then what we didn't really think about or realize was the date that we left the UK to come out here was the birthday of the 4 boys' dad, who sadly took his own life. So that's our family lived experience.
Yep.
And the day that we landed in Australia was the anniversary of his passing. So we had his birthday and his anniversary of his passing on the 2 huge days when we left one country and arrived in the other. So really strange coincidence.
Yeah, wow, that is pretty. What's the what were the dates? If you don't mind me asking, what were the dates?
Yeah, not at all. So I'm going to get this wrong now that you put me in the spot. But
sorry.
I think I'm going to get them wrong now that you put me on the spot. But pretty sure we left on the 27th and arrived on the 29th of August.
Wow. That's it's almost like a, I don't know, and obviously it's not like this in any way, but it's almost like it's very symbolic of like a new beginning sort of thing, of like, you're obviously never going to leave him behind or anything like that. That's not even slightly what I'm saying, but it's like, as you get over there to begin this new life, it's almost like to coincide with the anniversary of his death is pretty spooky.
It is. And you know what? One of my favorite things to have come out of that as well is when Justin, when he had his 18th birthday, he wanted a tattoo, and we were like, okay, we'll get you a tattoo for your 18th birthday. And he got the tattoo forever changed and the date in Roman numerals, because it symbolized obviously the date that his dad passed, which was a date that's forever changed, and the date that he was in Australia. So
it's
nice. Another part of that story which I don't know whether I can tell, or actually I'm going to tell it.
We can cut it out.
We poured for ages over, the design of the writing, and he looked at the Roman numerals and everything that he wanted. And then he got the tattoo and realized that he hadn't got the right Roman numerals.
What?
Yeah. So he got the wrong day. So he got the right month and the year, but he got the wrong day. So
so he actually has, like, it's, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like, what Roman numerals are what, but it's like, is it X is 10? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like XX.
XXV. Yeah. So I think he has the date. I can't, because those 3 dates are so ingrained, and so many things happen. But he's either got the 27th or the 28th. So either the day that we were in the sky or the day that we left the UK, as opposed to the other date. So, it's still forever change. Being on a plane to Australia is still, it's the symbolic thing of the word that I love.
Yeah, forever change. That was the flight where he had to spend a bunch of time with no Wi-Fi, and he was forever changed. life has never been the same since he had that hell of a time. Man, that is great. So like to, without going sort of back too far into it, but it's obviously that Liv's ex-partner or ex-husband, the boy's father, took his own life. You kind of not assume that you're their dad now. You certainly have helped raise them. How mental? This is more of a I guess a mental question from my side of things is, how does, and I know what the answer is going to be, but how does a man take four boys that are the children of someone else and essentially adopt them to be his own? How does a man's brain do that?
And I think there's, I've answered this a few times in the past, but I've done it without a lot of thought behind it. I just kind of went, you just do. But I think if I boil it down, I think it's in different stages, right? Because honestly, the first thing that happened was that I quite unexpectedly fell in love with Liv. So we became friends at work and knew each other for 6 months. And then Nick passed away, and she took time off work, and I noticed straight away, because we used to have lunch together and we used to spend time together, and it was always just a friendship. And then really missed her when she was away, and she came back, and then we continued to be friends, and we've both started to have feelings for each other at the same time. And I obviously knew she had 4 boys, and I obviously knew about Nick, and I knew what had happened and everything. But I guess you can't really help who you fall in love with. And that for me, I was just like, well, I'm aware of all these things, but, we got together in strange circumstances, with her being on an awful date at New Year and asking Facebook if there are any decent guys out there. And I just responded and said, what about me? Without even thinking. I was just like, yeah, what about me? Not thinking that she would think anything of it, do anything about it. So I think the first element was that I obviously fell in love with Liv, who's their mum. And then we went out for a date, and then she was like, I don't just let anyone meet the boys. So, I need to know, whether this is a serious thing or whatever. And I genuinely thought at the time that if there was any doubt in my mind about being any sort of part of their life, let alone a father figure to the boys, when she said things like that, it would trigger something, and I'd have alarm bells, or I'd get sweats, or you know what I mean? Like in Friends, where Chandler has the whole commitment thing to Monica when it's wedding, and he's short breath and everything else. So I genuinely thought.
But he turns it around. And then there's that cute scene with him and Phoebe, and he's like, the venue was wonderful. And then the audience is like, ah. So that's how I imagine it went for you as well.
Yeah, well, except we had no audience, so yeah.
It's just the 4 boys just going.
That's right. Well, yeah, exactly.
This is really cool. Great job, guys.
So then I was just like, I'm definitely, feel very strong feelings for you, and I'd love to meet the boys. So we kind of set up a time to go and meet the boys, and if I'd known now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew now, the very first time they met me, they took the piss out of what I was wearing, and they were just ribbing me all the way, and they were just such fun, loving, interesting, chatty people, and that's how I saw them. I didn't see them as children. I just saw them as people who were, great fun to be around. So yes, and on that first meeting, I just thought, these are guys that I'd like to get to know, and if I'm gonna be with Liv, then I'm gonna have to be around them. So I guess the long way around, Mitch, me saying this is, I never had a moment where I went, I'm going to commit to being their stepdad. I'm going to be a father figure. I'm going to have to step into someone else's shoes, and I'm going to have to raise someone else's kids. None of those thoughts ever came ahead. I just thought, every step at the time, I've fallen in love with Liv. They're ace boys. Want to spend more time to know them. And then it just kind of went from there. It just happens. And it just did. It just happened. And I don't think that happens for everyone. And if, there's lots of kids that I know through friends and and through their friends or acquaintances at school. And there's lots of kids that I could probably say, if they were there instead of them, I might be thinking differently, but they're absolutely incredible humans. And I just feel very lucky to be able to call them my stepsons, sons, kids, whatever the right terminology is.
Well, I think that it goes back to the whole, like you're saying that the first time you were there is that they're teasing you, they're ribbing you. And I think that's a comfort thing. Like that's probably, whether or not they were testing you or whatever, who knows? But I think that comes back to, it's a comfort thing. Like that shows just how the relationship is going to be, and that they're comfortable in, poking fun. And it shows. Like, I mean, that's probably, if you went there and it was 4 boys who, didn't look up from a phone and were like, hey, what's up? Taking mum out, cool, whatever. You'd be like, I don't know why I bother. But like, if you, if you're getting a boy, and obviously it probably doesn't, like, I assume all the boys were probably football mad still at that point.
All except Justin. Justin's always been a rugby boy, but Jack, Ollie, and Owen were all very much into their football. And I guess 1 out of the 4 of them still is as in love with football as I am. But yeah, that was definitely a bonding part, especially, which I don't actually, as a Man United supporter, I don't know if you know the story of who they used to support and what happened.
Do tell. Oh, what's this?
Boys. Perfect placement for the story.
Beckham's right there. That's where my heart is, I think. I don't really know technically where my heart is, but Beckham is kind of, I'll put it over there so he's over my heart. This is actually a shirt. Joe's actually really weird. This is, I don't know if this reflects on me as a child or whatever, but this is a shirt that my cousin brought back from me from the Old Trafford store when I was 12. So I recently found it when I was cleaning out mum and dad's house, and was like, oh, maybe with all the weight that I've lost, I could probably sneak this back on, and it fits. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a good thing now or a bad reflection of me as a 12-year-old. But either way,
I think it's a good thing. Go with the positive.
I'll take it. Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to cut off your Man United story. Please hit me.
So when I met them all, we lived in Sale, and we were a stone's throw away from Old Trafford. So literally down the motorway, 5 minutes and you're there. And they were all Man United fans, and all had shirts, all had names on the back, all had their favourite players, and Liv even had a Man United shirt as well, and famously not a football fan, but she had one with her number on the back as well. And I am a staunch Sheffield United fan, and at that point we were languishing in the lower leagues and weren't televised, and really had nothing to offer anyone who was even remotely interested in
a potential what's the word for? A potential, I can't even think of the word. Someone that you'll bring over, adoptee, a potential adoptee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or traitor to who they should be supporting. But
that's it. I didn't want to say it, but yep, that's correct.
With my team, with no pressure at all, and now all of them support Sheffield United.
It probably helped that they already had like red shirts that you could just get white out and turn into like Sheffield United shirts with the stripes and stuff. It probably didn't hurt that it was easy to replace.
I think the clincher was that I was going to the games at Bramall Lane.
For sure.
So they were like, well, we can go to Man United games possibly on our own, or have some random take us, or we can go with Ali to the Sheffield United games. And over the course of probably half a season, they were changed and got all their new kits, and Jack was a mascot and walked out on the final day of the season with Nick Montgomery.
Nick Montgomery,
from Central Coast Mariners now. So, that's how I managed to change them from supporting a much bigger club into our Blades.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's paying dividends. The Blades are Blades are up in the top league now, and where's Man United now? Who even knows? I don't even know. I'm not even paying attention this year. It just makes me upset. But I guess, like, I mean, I was going to rip on them for being like, oh, you left your club and you've started supporting another club. But I get that, like the idea of going to a game. I remember once just going to, like a bunch of my mates are Raiders fans, like Canberra Raiders fans. And I went to a semi-final between the Raiders and the Panthers with my mates, and like wore the jersey and, really got into it and stuff. And then the next day I was like, I think I'm a Raiders fan now. Like, I think I go for Raiders. And then like a week later I was like, oh no, I don't. But
no, you don't.
like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you go to the game, there's just a certain atmosphere. Like I've, even been to like Sydney derbies, and like I'm, born and bred on the Central Coast, so I support the Mariners. But you go to the Sydney derbies and you're like, man, how good's the atmosphere here? Everyone's getting behind it. I think I go for FC now. And it's like, no, you don't. You just like,
no.
You're just having a good time. You're just having a good time. Like, you don't need to sell all your allegiances just because you had a good time.
No. And I do, yeah. I think people can go to games and see a cracking game and can have that split second thought of maybe I go for them, but then they don't. I think the difference of why this is stuck is because not only did they go to the games, but we hung around after the game, they met all the players, they got the signatures. Jack was a mascot, got to go out on the pitch, meet all the players.
So pivotal at that age.
Yeah, and all the culture that goes with it. We've got like our song, the Greasy Chip Buddy. We had a Greasy Chip Buddy outside the ground. Yep, we soaked up all the atmosphere pre-game, and that kind of stuff, I think, is what ingrains it in people, as opposed to just going to a good game with a good atmosphere. You can have that split second, but then there's no substance to it after that. It's like, I don't actually know the players or the club or anything about it. So
yeah. Was your old man a football fan, or not really? Or?
He was. Yeah, strangely he played rugby.
Yep.
In his life, but he was definitely a rugby fan. But he didn't have a team, so he didn't really have that allegiance to really having a big allegiance to a rugby team.
Yep.
Whereas he was a Liverpool fan, and he always talked about Liverpool. But I don't think he ever went to Anfield. So I was like, how much of a Liverpool fan are you actually if you've never been to the
And it's not like it's far, right? Like
he lived in Stoke-on-Trent, so he probably could have been there in an hour. So, yeah. I
mean, man, I've been to games in Canberra, and they're games I don't even care about. Like, surely
exactly.
You. Oh my God, that's so funny.
What's funny though? Do you know what's funny, right? Is reflecting back on obviously what the show is about, with the Dead Dad Society, and reflecting on my dad and things like football, is when I was thinking about why he hadn't gone to Anfield, and then the games he went to with me, he took me to my first ever football game, and he took me to things like Birmingham Wycombe Wanderers in a pre-season game, and he took me to all these random games of all these different teams. Never took me to see Liverpool. He took me to see Sheffield United a number of times, but I think he just wanted to see my enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, right.
So he didn't want to put on me the Liverpool thing. He wanted me to just enjoy the game. So
right.
Which I never thought about until this year, when I was reflecting back on all the kind of experiences and stuff, and going far out. He must have just picked some games that he thought would be good games to go to that I would like to go and see.
Get something out of. But that's what they do though? I feel like that's their thing. Like I was, again, as we said, the topic of the show, like the, Dead Dad Society. So obviously, you and I are peak reflective people. I remember being like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And my dad being like, do you want to go to the movies? And me being like, yeah, let's go. And then we go, and then we get there, and it's like, Pokemon the first movie or like Liar Liar, and he's like, Liar Liar, like looks pretty good. And I was like, what about Pokemon? And he's like, yep, no, yep, Pokemon looks really good. Yep, let's go to that. And then like my dad, who at that point was like 50 years old, just went and sat through a Pokemon movie. Like, yeah, this is really good. Probably was just sitting there the whole time going like, yep, you're loving it. This is great. This is what I wanted to watch, definitely.
Mate,
but I feel like that's what they do.
Are you doing this on purpose as a segue into bringing up Trolls World Tour again?
I do. Please. Please give me a review of Trolls World Tour. I didn't actually. I won tickets to go and see it at the drive-in, and I didn't go.
That's all.
I was too busy. I was a busy lad. I couldn't go. But I feel like that's what that's what dads do. Like that's what they're. It's almost like that's when you're born, is that the doctor, takes the baby away and the mum gets stitched up, and then another man comes in and says like, all right, so here's your license to be a dad. This is what you got to do. You got to do this. You got to do that, and there's got to be a good support. And some of them are just like, nah, and they don't really take the license too seriously. But then there's some of them that do, and it seems like we probably both had that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, my daughter wanted to see Trolls World Tour since before COVID, and it was one of the few films that came out of the cinema for a very short time before COVID. So then they put it on again when it finished. So she'd been talking for 8 months about going to see this movie, and regardless of what Marvel movies or anything else I wanted to see, I didn't want to make her go and see something I wanted to see and not enjoy it or be excited. Yeah. I wanted to see excitement on her face going into the movie, and then it didn't really matter whether I liked the movie or not. It was whether she did, because I swear if she'd come out of that movie and said she hated it, there would have been some problems.
some fireworks. Let's we've gone around your dad. What we've danced around. That's even worse. We've danced around your dad. We danced around him. It was pretty funny. We liked it. No, we've talked about you. We've touched on your. That's fucking even worse. We've touched on your dad. Holy shit. We've mentioned. There we go. We've mentioned your dad a couple of times now. Obviously, the name of the podcast, Dead Dad Society. He is no longer with us. So how do we lead to being at this stage? Like, what is losing your dad? How does it happen? What goes on? What moments happen?
Yeah, so definitely one of the WTF or what the fuck moments in my life. Losing my dad. He had dementia, and for a man who had pretty photographic memory, remembered unbelievable amounts of history and even little details. He could recount stories that he'd experienced 35, 40 years previous, like they happened yesterday. It was unbelievable. So for him, we always thought it's such a cruel thing anyway, but we especially thought that of all the things for Dad to have got in later life, we just thought that dementia was one of the cruelest for somebody who just had such a great memory. And so I was obviously over here when he first started to show signs of it. The last time he came out to visit us here with my stepmom, he was showing signs of something not being right, but we didn't know exactly what it was. And then after that, it was it was quite a rapid
decline,
downhill journey from there. He was in a home towards the end of his life, and I went back with Justin, my eldest, just over a year before he passed, and saw him, and we had some amazing kind of what felt like final moments, which ended up being final moments with him, which were playing badminton and letting him win, and playing table tennis, and you know, we
beating
were
him. You beat him in that though, the table tennis.
no,
Or just
no,
badminton.
no, we didn't beat him in anything. He won.
You're
Yeah.
a good son. How good's that? I think even competitively, that's the competitive straight. I'll be like, I don't care, Dad. I'm like, freaking ace, bro. See you later.
It was actually because we were, truthfully, the first half of the badminton game, we were kind of going easy, Justin and I. It was Justin and I against, it wasn't even me and my stepmom against Justin and Dad. It was me against my stepmom and my dad.
Right.
And for the first half of the game, we were kind of going easy, and then we were like, these guys are actually pretty good. So
They're
maybe
not
we
bad,
just
yeah.
step out of the game.
Yeah,
By which
yeah.
it was too late. It was already, they already won. So, but yeah, some beautiful final moments with him in those days that we had. But always had in my mind at that stage that when I found out if it was going to be towards the end, that I would fly back and be with him either
Absolutely.
in the immediate lead up or with him when he passed. And it was really difficult because of the distance, where people in the UK were saying, like my sister and family were saying, I don't think you should come back. He's not who you remember. You know, it's such a cruel disease that, you know, and I was just like, do you know what? I'd take on board all those things. And because I haven't had a family member pass before, I have no previous experience to draw on, whether I do or I don't. I just suddenly made a decision. I was like, I don't care whether he's not who I remember or what I remember. I just feel like I see him one last time for me. So made that decision and booked the taxi to the airport. And while I was waiting for the taxi, my sister called to say that he passed away. So I had prepared myself as much as anyone can for getting on a plane and what I was going to see when I got there.
Yep.
And I ended up going to the airport and on the flight, crying my eyes out because I just didn't know what I was going to do when I got there now, because I was like, obviously I'll be there for the funeral and I'll be a part of that, which was very, very special. But I just had 24 hours to prepare myself completely for having lost my dad in the funeral, as opposed to seeing him one last time and saying goodbye. It was so weird.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, I don't know what the sort of, not the rules over there are or anything like that, but from when Dad died, is that they left him in the hospital bed for my brother to come, because a similar situation, my brother literally walking out the door to drive up to come and say goodbye to Dad, and I was like, called him, I was like, sorry, like he's gone. And they left him there all day. But I mean, I guess the idea of you coming from another country and all that sort of stuff, it's like, well, you're not just like, you know, you're going to need that bed at some point, and you're going to need, well, it's like you can't just leave. I don't know. You didn't get to see him like visually at all again?
No, not at all. No. There was a beautiful thing that happened where Imogen drew a drawing of her and him, which they put with my dad.
Beautiful.
When they laid him to rest, when they, I don't know what the right term is when they were, before he was cremated. So in between that time, and so I got a picture of him with Imogen's picture in his hand, which was amazing.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah.
For Imi as well, knowing that her picture got to him, but that's the only kind of thing that I got. But yeah, and you know, I don't know whether I would change it, because the funeral was incredible to be there and be with the family and say goodbye and things like that. But there was just something in my brain that just went, I need to see him one more time. But
yeah, of course, yeah.
But maybe having the distance and how long it had been since I saw him, maybe my family were right. Maybe it wasn't the right thing to see him like that. I don't know.
And you don't, and I guess that's the overarching thing, is that you don't know how it is going to be. Like you had your plan that how you wanted it to be, and it didn't work out like that. But if it does work out like that, and then you're sitting here now, however long later it has been, you're going like, I kind of wish I hadn't seen him like
Mm.
that, or So I mean, it's a constant battle of what ifs. I feel like with any
I think
kind of
it's
disease
probably,
like that.
yeah, I think it's probably out of both scenarios of regret. I think I would prefer to regret not having seen him as opposed to regret seeing him and not being able to not lose that image. That I think, but I don't know. And I've spoken to others who have said they saw them one last time even after they passed, and they were like, that was the piece that I needed. So never gonna know, right?
Yeah.
You can't play out both scenarios and pick which one you want. It's not choose your own adventure or anything. So,
No. And if it was, I doubt you'd be picking like
no,
this is.
exactly what I'm gonna say that.
I'd love to see my dead dad now, please. That would be so good if I could see that, please. Yeah. Wow. So correct? It's about 2 years, coming up on 2 years.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got. Pardon me. My 3 years is next Tuesday. So Dad's 3 years next Tuesday. Contemplating doing a special episode. So stick around, guys. That'll be released later. It won't be in this episode, so I don't know why I said that. But yeah, I feel God. Like, do you? Okay, so did you speak? Did you do a eulogy at the funeral?
So yeah, me and my sister Sally did, and it was a really you'll appreciate this in the line of work that you're in, Mitch, but it was a really difficult one because there were lots of things that he was well known for that could have been said or worded in a way that would not have been appropriate for the church. So
yep.
So we had to balance that fine line between making sure that we honored him correctly, but also honoring the fact that we were in a church. So there were some
just the idea of like, remember when we were really young and Dad used to love smacking us on our butts, and you'd be like, whoa, like, sorry about that, don't say that in here. Did you find it very, like, I guess even just putting it together, the idea of like, I didn't want it to be like this is your life, like here's this book of like, and then like I went to a funeral recently and it was like, no, I didn't go. I watched it on Zoom because it was COVID. It was a friend of mine, and they were literally like, and they were born this day, and they were born this day, and they went to this school, and they were in this school for this many years, and then they went to this school, and they were in this school for this many years, and then they finished high school, and then they got a job in a call center, and they worked in the call center for this long, and I was like, fuck, like this is, I don't know if I pass tomorrow and then people are doing like a eulogy for me, and it's literally like, and then Mitch, and up until this stage he had recorded 13 episodes of his podcast, and I just be like, what is this wrap up?
No, yeah, we purposely didn't. Yeah, we me and Sally, when we put it together, we were like, let's start with chronological so that we don't miss the things that we want to say. And then we actually just grouped it together in themes of stuff. So we talked about his love of sport or his love of family, his competitive nature with games. So we just switched around the themes and the things that he was known for, or the things we thought that people would want to remember him by, as opposed to, he, we obviously told people where he was born and who he was married to. We didn't do it in This Is Your Life at all. It was like, I think we would switch off before you got to, I don't know, 18 years old.
That's it. And you're not going to be recapping the badminton scores or anything like. And then you won't believe it, but Dad and stepmom, hello stepmom, sorry that you're upset, but remember badminton? That was pretty good. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I find that whole thing. It's even putting it together was super. Almost said lethargic. Was super cathartic.
100%. The whole
Super
process.
like, and doing these sort of things, like just chatting to people that are in a similar boat. You're like, okay, it's not a it's not an empty boat. Like there's a couple of us in here, but
Mm.
just putting that together, like, and I've had a few people talk to me and be like, I don't know how you did that eulogy. And it's like, well, because it helps that I know how to perform. But I don't know, I wanted it to be special to people. I wanted people to get across the memories and to almost feel like, I don't know, to almost feel like he was there without being there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's your kind of your last chance to publicly tell them how you feel about them. So you do want it to be special because you want them to see and hear the impact that they've had on your life. And there's no other time in your life where you get to do that. I think, there's other times as the dad when you're, like father of the bride or father of the groom or whatever, where you get to tell them. But there's no kind of other time where you get to tell your dad that.
Yeah.
Like all in one go, all the things.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be a real reflection of who he was, warts and all, not glorifying him as the greatest dad or the greatest person in the world, but he was my dad and I loved him, and we had some great memories and some funny memories and some awful memories, but they all wrapped up together make him who he was.
Your dad. Yeah. Do you find that like only 2 years, fuck, that's such a douchey way of saying it, but in the last 2 years, I've had countless times in the last 3 years, but do you just have moments of like where you almost need to remind yourself that they're not here anymore?
Yeah, and I actually think that would be a stronger feeling, and I would feel it more if I'd been in the same country for those past 8 years. But I catch myself with things like wanting to call or wanting to say something, and that's when you're right, and you go, oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah,
it's like, oh shit. And then you go down this rabbit hole of, oh, this is crap.
There's
no one else to tell this to than
yeah. See, I'm having that at the moment because for some reason, I don't know why he did this, but in like the last sort of 10, 12 years of his life or something, my dad just swapped allegiance, in talking about football teams, swapped allegiance from Manly to Melbourne Storm. Don't know why.
What?
Yeah, he like
never lived in Melbourne?
No, don't even know if he could spell it. But like, do you know what I mean? Like so I think he was super, like grew up Northern Beaches, Manly area, Harbord, all that sort of stuff. But I think he was super disenfranchised with the club after they like when they became the Northern Eagles, where they merged with another club, and then they folded, and then Manly were themselves again, but they weren't themselves. So I think he just started following Melbourne as well. Like I think he just kind of liked the underdog story of Melbourne, and then they go ahead and win the premiership in their second year or first year or whatever it was. And it was like, okay, cool. And then they've obviously just gone on a bit of a run. But yeah, having them win the grand final again the other night, I was just like, Dad would love this. And it's like, oh, that's all right. Because like Melbourne won the 2017 grand final, which is the year that he died. And I was on my honeymoon because we got married just before he passed. I was on my honeymoon in Vanuatu, which again, call back to earlier in the show, Vanuatu again. But we were in Vanuatu and I literally watched the grand final in a hot tub and then called him on Facebook and was like, do you like that? That was good, wasn't it? Like kind of thing. And he was like, yeah, it's good stuff. It's like, all right, cool. And I have this kind of have
You're
this
like,
joke.
but you have no idea, Dad. I spent all this time running the bath, getting the bubbles, setting the scene, and everything to show you how good it was. And then you're like, yeah, it's all right.
I didn't even talk about the game. I just FaceTimed him, me in the bath. Was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Do you like this? I'm not sure why he wasn't impressed, but that's all right. So Melbourne Storm at the moment, like I'm doing that, and I saw an ad the other day for Cameron Smith's book is coming out, and I was like,
Perfect Christmas
Christmas,
present.
and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. Oh no. But yeah, I find that happens a lot, and I just get sort of triggered by buying presents or triggered by music in the shops and all that sort of stuff.
Music's a big one for me, and weirdly, not even just because of what I do with the charity music. My mum's a musician. I've grown up with music my entire life, but strangely, although mum's the musician, it's my dad's music taste that has influenced me the most. So, and he loved so much of it, and because my mum and dad separated when I was about 4 years old, we used to go to visit him from Scotland to Stoke-on-Trent for the holidays, and he used to pick us up, and it used to be like a 3.5-hour journey. So he used to play songs in the car to us all the time. So me and my sister constantly get reminded by songs that remind us of stuff. So like Fleetwood Mac and the whole stuff with all the skateboarder dude with the cranberry juice, that's all been like, it was one of Dad's songs.
There it is. Dad love that. That's And I think I was talking about on another pod with someone, I can't remember who it was, but talking about Coles Radio and how Coles Radio only have like a certain like amount of songs, and one of the songs that they play is the song we played at Dad's funeral. So I have to time going to Coles now. Like that's the life I live, is that I have to time going to Coles. But it's
I'm glad that we're talking about Coles to a Woolies employee here. It's good.
I would just like you to know that I am a Woolies convert now.
Oh wow.
I used to be Coles, but ever since Woolworths brought in Scan and Go, I'm all about it. So you can calm down now. You can don't be upset. In the what the fuck questions, we won't necessarily go into all of them, but you mentioned your mum a second ago, and this was the number one on your what the fuck, and I don't know if I want to say it, or if I just want to let you say it, because I feel like it's tell me your number one, something to do with your mother and your sister, but tell me your number one.
So as I said, my mum's a musician and been prolific in terms of output, and 28, 29 albums, 6 months of the years traveling, or was when I was living at home. So we'd be going to Canada and the US and Copenhagen and freaking everywhere all over the world. And my eldest sister, Tracy at the time, worked for Virgin Atlantic. So she had a list of people.
Is her name different now? Or...
Her name?
Sorry, sorry, that was the worst joke in the world. You said, my sister Tracy at the time. I just thought it was really funny. But she,
That was part of the next sentence.
I'll probably cut that out. I hate myself. I'm so sorry that I even said that.
No, it's a fair point. I have 5 sisters, so it gets confusing. So.
Tracy, I don't know why it's so funny. It was Tracy at the time.
Tracy at the time, yeah.
Yeah,
she's still Tracy.
Still Tracy. She's working for Virgin Atlantic.
She was at the time, yeah. So yes, she's working for them, and part of the perks of the job was that she had a list of 10 friends and family she could put, which basically got them free flights around the country, around the world, or for people who already had flights, they would get them free first class upgrades. So Mum travel with Tracy all the time, and obviously Tracy working for Virgin was away a lot of the time doing long haul to Australia and America. And incidentally, my first time to Australia was through a free flight through my sister. So thanks, Tracy, for that.
Thank you, Tracy.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here still now. But yeah, it was. I was living in London at the time, and
are you still living there now, or
no? At that time,
he's done it again. Fuck! I hate myself. I don't even know why I did it.
We're gonna stop saying at the time. Okay.
I feel like that's one of those glass shattering moments where you're like, oh, I say that a lot. You're like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Well, no, actually, I'm saying it a lot in this story because I'm putting at that time in place of the specifics. Otherwise, I'll give it away before I get there. So,
I see what you've done. Yep.
that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. So,
it's my craft.
I guess I'm just the asshole then. Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. You weren't to know.
So you're in London. You're in London.
I'm in London at the time, and I'm working, and I'm working 2 jobs just because London's so fucking expensive to live in. And I'm working in the pub, and we're kind of setting up for the day, and there's not many people in the pub, and we've got the big screen down ready to show the football later on, and all the TV's cut to the news, and just after the first plane had hit at 9/11, so had hit the World Trade Center.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, this is awful. Like, everybody couldn't take my eyes off the screen, wondering what's going on. And then in a split moment where I had time to think about something other than what was happening on the screen, I was like, where's Mum at the moment? And realized that she was flying to JFK to go and play music in America. And then I'm like, oh, if Mum's in the air, I wonder if she flew with Tracy. And I was like, oh no, she didn't. But Tracy's also in the air on a different flight to America. And of course, this happens, and as people knew that kind of lived through it, trying to contact anyone was impossible because all the phone lines were jammed. And basically, for about, I think it was a period of about 8 hours, I didn't get confirmation that both of them were alive and well. But both of their flights had been grounded, and Mum actually wasn't allowed to, I'm pretty sure Mum wasn't allowed to leave on a connecting flight, and Tracy had got in and landed earlier than it had happened. But yeah, had obviously very worrisome time, wondering whether Mum, sister, or both had been
man. Yeah. That's like the sliding doors moment of like, absolutely. What if, oh my God, that's, yeah, man. The idea of the click, I feel like, not that I would have wanted to see your face, but I feel like the click when you realized, like, you're watching this thing, you're going, oh my God, that's crazy. That's so sad. That's horrible. Imagine all those poor people, second plane hits, you're like, what the fuck is actually happening? Those poor people, this, everything, it continues throughout the day. And then to chuck that realization together, being like, oh yeah, where's Mum?
I actually think it was someone on the news report that said, something as innocuous as for anyone, make sure that you're checking in your friends and family. And I kind of just went through like my flatmate and my girlfriend at the time and everything. I was like, oh, they're all fine. And then I was like, oh, what about? And there was like, oh, what? And it was just like, I don't know what level.
What about my sister that works on planes? That's and you're like, I think
I don't know.
I think I should have thought about this earlier instead of my roommate from London. But but either way, it's so funny. I guess that just shows the relationship you have with your roommate from London or whoever it was, that you were like, are they all right? It's like,
do you know
so that all happened in New York, so didn't really affect us here at all.
Weirdly, you say that about roommate from London, though. So the first person that I thought about in that was that person was the very first person to do Top 10 night with me, where Listen Up and Top 10 night and everything I do with charity kicked off in the UK. The idea came from a night that the two of us spent. So actually quite an important person.
Is that Ian? Ian. Ian.
No, Vary, her name is. Just to shout out.
Ian, I feel like no. Ian was Ian hosting. Ian was a host in the UK.
Yeah, Ian was a host. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, that is scary. Like
it was horrible. It was really horrible, and not being able to do anything, knowing that everyone else is in the same boat, but also kind of feeling like I can't get hold of both of them. They're both set to be on separate flights. What are the chances that both of them are going to be okay? The longer it goes on, the human mind just makes you just think the worst and worse.
Oh my God. Yeah. Any, I don't know how you did 8 hours. I'd be like 20 minutes in, I'd be organizing funerals or something, like you'd be like, it just, in your brain, obviously not making calls.
Yeah.
But
I was 20. I was 20 at the time, so I didn't even know what a funeral was. I'd not been to one. I didn't know, let alone how to organize one. So yeah, I was.
Man,
yeah, that's for the best.
That is, and well, it worked out.
It did.
And Tracy got to change her name, so that's good.
Right. And I got to fly to Australia. So.
How good's that? I love to. So a couple of things I like to end episodes on. I sent you these questions, so I am wrapping you up because I feel like it's getting late. We've done some good time here. We've had some good chats. We've both got dead dads. We have accepted it. So my first question: if you were to pick a famous TV dad to replace my dad, who would you pick? Like having me, a little bit about my dad, a little bit about my family, but me, who's swanning in and taking over.
So I will give one answer if pressed, but I gave this a lot of thought, and beautiful. I have two people in a tie.
Oh,
for very different reasons, but I don't know if you can accept two or whether you want me to just pick one of them.
Mate, I'll absolutely accept two. I'm going to keep a tally board over the time. So I'll pose a question in return to you: is if you pick two, that person only gets half a point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you can pick one and they'll get 1 point. So return the question to you, sir.
Okay, I'll pick one, but can I
tell me the other one as well? Tell me the other one as well. Honorable mention.
Okay, so honorable mention first.
Yep.
Goes to Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yep. Great. I thought you were going to say Uncle Phil from Modern Family, and I was like, what character are you talking from that it's Uncle Phil? Like you could just say Phil. Uncle Phil from.
Maybe you misheard me for Dr. Phil or any of those famous Phil.
I just think you feel like a Phil. Just anyone Phil. I think Uncle Phil. Oh man, yep. I'm into that. Beautiful scene with him and Will, like when Will's like, why doesn't she want me? Like talking about his mum and stuff.
Yeah. And I genuinely feel that regardless of the animosity between them, that he genuinely really cared for Will and put up with his funny, his comedy, his stupid shit, and was a good role model for him, I feel.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, and I've forgotten. Was he the honourable mention or was he new dad?
He's the honourable mention.
Honourable mention. Okay, so who's new dad? Who's new dad?
So new dad is not. It's based on the actor and one of the characters that he plays. So it could be, which is Mr. Tom Selleck.
Okay.
And I'm going for Mr. Tom Selleck from Three Men and a Baby.
Great. Yes.
Because one, he is the most amazing dad in that movie. He has a really strong connection with the baby, and creates a really lovely kind of family bond over the course of
Yep.
It is. But also knowing how much your dad loved his moustache and how much you loved his moustache. I
Yep.
don't think there's a finer moustache in Hollywood than Tom Selleck's.
Than
So
Tom
I thought
Selleck.
it was a nice addition.
That is very true. I think it's between Tom Selleck and Burt Reynolds for the best moustaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I feel that Tom Selleck's a better dad, though.
Absolutely. I mean, Burt Reynolds is dead, so I mean, I can't lose another dad this quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, Tom Selleck, I'm into it. I'm also into it because that means that my dad like was dating Monica from Friends. So like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's pretty like, I don't know. Is it weird to be attracted to your stepmom? I don't know, but yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Tom Selleck. I'm into it. I feel like I need to learn more about Tom Selleck. Like, in
he loved a
terms of
cigar
like,
as well. He's a big cigar smoking man.
Did he?
So, yeah.
wow. Okay. All right. Well, I need to educate myself more on Tom Selleck because at this point, it is the Three Men movies and Friends that I know him from, and I feel like
mate, there's definitely other things you need to watch for sure. I'll send you a viewer list so you can get up to
so you
speed.
can get up to just get to know my new dad.
That's right. Yeah.
Second question to wrap up
Yes.
is that if you, Ali Taylor, if you were my dad, what advice would you give me to fulfill my potential or to live my life to the best that I can? What kind of advice would you give me to shape me, to help me?
I think, like with all good father-son relationships, the best advice is passed down from older generations. So I'm going to pass down my dad's kind of not motto, but the thing that he told me to live my life to that would bring me biggest fulfillment, which I feel is relevant to you as well, which is to cherish your family and spend as much time as you can with them, because they are the most thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's poignant, but it's relevant right now. I feel like that has been the major plus in this COVID isolation garbage has been the time that I've got to spend with my daughter and my wife too. I guess she doesn't listen to this, so she won't know what I said. But actually, her parents do, so I feel like they'll pass that on. But anyway,
She might listen to this episode. You know, Lou likes me, so I think she does. So
that's true. I mean, she does have a huge crush on Andy Ryan, who was one of my guests a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, she makes a comment like once a week about how she's like, I really need to listen to that. I really like Andy, and I was like, married to me. Just remember that. I'm on every episode, so if you could listen to the episodes that I'm on, your husband. That'd be.
But also, husband and crush in one episode. If that's not going to get her to listen to it, then what is?
That's it. I mean, I might have to kill her dad or something so that she has something to relate to. That got dark. That got dark real quick. No, poignant. I love it, Ali. I love it, mate. That's I completely agree. That is beautiful stuff. What have you guys? What has Ali Taylor? What has Listen Up Music got coming up? I saw you doing a show presenting a show with Aya Eves.
That's right. So yeah, Aya Eves, with support from Boulevard and Bernie Van Thiel, who all three of them in our community, and having all three of them in one show was just too good a thing for us not to support and present, because it's all about collaboration, community, and that's it in action. And Aya Eves, full band with new material. It's going to be great at Oxford Art Factory on the 17th of November. So that's coming up. And then really we're just battening down the hatches for next year, because we're going to come very hard out of the traps next year to make up for what we've not been able to do in COVID. So we have lots of exciting things for Jan, Feb, March of next year to come. So
That's beautiful. And we got the final as well, right? The songwriting prize final. That's end of
That's
November.
right, end of January. So we'll have
End of January. What's end of January?
end of January. So
The
it's
final.
moved.
Oh,
Yeah, we've moved it to the end of January. So yeah, we'll put
update
that in your
that
diary.
real quick.
We'll
I
put it
think I'm busy.
on the conversations history. There won't be much on there, so you can.
No, it's just one message that says you've been cancelled.
So
Okay,
yeah, no, it's
yes.
moved to the end of Jan, so we can
Cool.
give Melburnians the biggest chance they can of being able to get.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful. Hey, respect. I love that. I respect that. That's good. Mate, where can people follow you? Where can people find you? Find Listen Up Music, please. Chuck it all out. Let the folks know.
yeah, pretty much the usual places. I think we are most active on Instagram and Facebook, but we do have a Spotify channel where we put out playlists. We're going to be doing some cool stuff with our ambassadors, with some ambassador mood playlists coming up too. So you can find us on Spotify. We've got a website. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. If you literally search for Listen Up Music, you should be able to find us. But yeah, whatever platform floats your boat, we have some form of
Stuff on it.
representation. Yeah.
And do you need me to make a mood playlist, an ambassador mood playlist? I can put together a playlist that's it's called Angry Driving, and it's just mainly Limp Bizkit. How do you feel about that?
Well, if there was a bit more variety to the bands, then I think Angry Driving would be good. But maybe songs to get your baby to sleep to or something might be more appropriate. I don't know.
Your babies. It's just it's just all that jazz. Sorry to call that back again, but that's the only song. That's the only song that puts her to sleep. All that jazz. Put that on and she goes to sleep. I don't know if that's a reflection on.
How easy is that? One song playlist done. Mood playlist from Mitch Garling.
She has. Jazz. Yeah. I mean, this is the song that makes me the happiest, because then there's a bit of peace and quiet. There's not a baby yelling at me, but. Yeah, all that jazz. I don't know if that's a reflection on Renee Zellweger or Catherine Zeta-Jones as performers, but either way, she seems to love it.
Mate, there's definitely worse things she could like. So
that's true. I know I will show her Limp Bizkit eventually, but mate, thank you for coming on and having a chat. I hope it's good to, it sucks that we're part of this club, or sucks that we're part of this society, but I'm glad to have you in the society. I'll have to get you a pin. I talk about getting pins all the time. I believe I may need to get liver pin as well. From if my memory serves me correctly.
And mate, I don't want to correct you, but you said it sucks to be part of the society. I think being part of the society is the good part that's come out of having a dead dad. So being part of the society doesn't suck. Just having a dead dad does.
Hey, how about that? That's bloody beautiful. You're going to make me tear up. Oh, God. Mate, Ali Taylor, my dear friend, thank you for coming on and having a chat with me. I don't know how to wrap these up every time. So usually I just edit them when there's like a lull in conversation or something.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'll just keep talking then so that you can't do that, and then you'll not be able to.
Thanks, Ali. Just cut you off.
Thanks.
All the best, mate. Nah, thank you, mate. I appreciate it. And guys, go follow Listen Up Music, all that stuff. I don't even know what to do. Bye.